Good morning. My name is Reverend Dr. Ron Fox, and I want to welcome you all to our Easter service for the Center for Spiritual Living, Space Coast. And before I begin with my message, like we do every week, my beautiful wife, Becky, is going to begin by praying us in.
And again, like I've done the last 2 weeks, I'd like to incorporate one of the meditations from the book 365 Days of Richer Living that was written by Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker. And so I just invite everyone to turn within to that place of the Most High. It is where each one of us is knowing our oneness in divine spirit, this infinite spirit that is all-knowing, all-powerful, and everywhere present. And I'm knowing my oneness in this infinite power, that it is who and what I am. And I'm knowing this for each person who is viewing this video this morning. Each one of us is one in this infinite love, this infinite power. That it is the wonderful divine power that is emerging through us at all times. And so I am knowing that right here and right now, that this wonderful divine presence is unfolding in this experience this morning. That it is lifting us up to a higher awareness of who and what we are. That this divine power is also emerging through Reverend Dr. Ron and his message this morning, that it is guiding and directing his words, his feelings, his emotions through his message, allowing it to touch our hearts, allowing it to deepen our awareness, our consciousness. I am also knowing that every apparent death is a resurrection. Therefore, gladly today, I die to everything that is unlike the good. Joyfully, I am resurrected into that which is beautiful, enduring, and true. Silently, I pass from less to more, from isolation into inclusion, from separation into oneness. And so I'm knowing all of this for each person. That life is unfolding in divine order. And so for all of this good and so much more, I release this, knowing that all is good. Thank you, divine spirit within. And so it is.
Thank you so much, Becky. That was really beautiful. You know, before I begin, I just thought about this actually, that one of the benefits of us not being together is you don't have to sit through announcements, but I'm doing two today. You know, it's really difficult not to see one another, not to hug one another, not to have coffee with one another, but we need to do what we need to do to make sure we all come through this, which I know we will. And one of the ways Becky and I are trying to do that is every Tuesday at 2 o'clock Eastern time, we're having a Zoom call, and anybody that wants to come on is certainly invited. We take the opportunity to talk about our joys, to talk about our difficulties, to share with how we're putting up with our quarantines and what we're doing. And last week it was a really nice call. So I invite all of you to please come on if you so desire, Tuesdays, 2 o'clock Eastern time. And I want to let you know, this Tuesday, we are going to have a really, really special surprise. So let us know if you're not on Becky's, I always call it Chunky Monkey, but it actually is MailChimp. If you're not on, let us know, and Becky will put you on. Also, on our call last week, we said we were going to be doing a class on a book that we've changed changed our mind on the book that we're going to do the class on. Rather than on the Untethered Soul, we're going to be doing a class. It's 4 classes long on one of Ernest Holmes' best books, This Thing Called You. So we'll give you more information on that Tuesday also. So let me begin. My talk title today is Rise Up. And I want to start by reading you something from the glossary from the Science of Mind textbook written by Ernest Holmes. Here's Ernest's definition of resurrection. A restoring or renewal. We reach the kingdom of heaven not by death, but by overcoming our limited beliefs, by recognizing the Father within. So Ernest says that Easter is a time of rebirth, that something dies in our life and something new is reborn. And Easter is not about one person's death and resurrection. It's about all of our deaths and resurrections. So Joseph Campbell, the mythologist, writes that Easter and Passover have the same root, that we're called out of bondage. And he said, the kingdom of God is within us. And what Easter and Passover reminds us is that we need to let go in order to enter the kingdom. We're called to a new life. We need to let go of the past and be born into a new order of life and living. Ernest Holmes wrote, somewhere along the line of our evolution, we must surrender our doubts. Somewhere in the journey of life, we shall be called upon to separate ourselves from the body of false beliefs. That is what is meant by I die daily. We let go of what doesn't serve and grab onto what does. You know, Ernest Holmes said that the tomb of Lazarus showed us that we're all eternal beings. And he said that's the perfect formula for all of us resurrecting ourselves from past experiences. We roll away the stone and the barriers which have entombed us. And Ernest reminds us, God can't do that for us. We have to do it for ourselves. We need to roll away the barriers that keep life from flowing through us. Here's how he put it. At the center of confusion, there is peace. At the center of doubt, there is certainty. At the center of death, there is life. You know, Ernest goes on and he says that we've made tombs for ourselves, that we have bound ourselves with fear, with superstition, and with unbelief. And he said we've laid down in our self-created tombs, and yet outside of the tomb, there's a voice that's calling us, that's saying, arise and come forth. Arise and come forth. Let go of what's not serving. Let go of what's keeping us bound. And let's develop a new sense of beliefs that free us. You know, Stephen Mitchell is a writer who writes a lot about Jesus. And he said that the early Christians believed that Jesus died for our sins, but that Jesus would never have approved of that belief, because the God that Jesus believed in was unconditional love. And he said that God would never have demanded the blood of innocent people to be forgiven. Forgiveness is available to us all the time. Whenever we're ready to receive it, we get it. Steve McSwain is another spiritual writer, and in one of his blogs, he talks about resurrection, and he said Jesus' crucifixion represents the dying of the old way, and resurrection follows from the ashes because something new and better follows. He said Jesus on the cross shows us that even in the most difficult and horrific situations, something better can be birthed. And so when we're going through difficult times, when we're going through times that are painful for us and that we don't even realize what's going on, not only can it be painful, but it can be confusing. And yet, when we rise from the ashes, we so often find that within us there's a strength and a courage that we never knew we had. I'm sure many of you that are watching me have experienced that. You go through a difficult time, and when you get through the other side, you say, wow, I never knew I had the strength to get through this. In every single moment of our life, we have the opportunity to reinvent ourselves by becoming reborn over and over again. Rebirth isn't a one-time thing. It's not a once in a lifetime experience. A divorce, an illness, a loss of a job, they're all painful experiences, but they all provide us with opportunities to be reborn. We sometimes hear about the last 7 words of Jesus. Well, they're really not 7 words, they're 7 phrases or sentences. And I want to talk to you about 2 of them this morning. And the first one I want to talk about is Jesus on the cross turning to the thief and saying to him, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Well, what does that mean for you and me that Jesus said that? Today you will be with me in paradise. You know what it means? It means there's no death. There's no death. Paradise is our oneness with God. And paradise is here. It is now. And it is eternal. It is always ours. And we can look beyond appearances, and we can know that there is a divine plan unfolding every moment of our lives. And the second sentence or phrase that I want to share with you is Jesus on the cross saying, my God, why have you forsaken me?" I want to ask you a question. What if that never happened? What if Jesus never said, my God, why have you forsaken me?" George Lamza comes from the part of the world where Jesus lived. George Lamza spoke Aramaic, and he translated the original writings from Aramaic into English. And George Lamza said that my God, why have you forsaken me?" is a mistranslation. Here's what he said Jesus' actual words on the cross were. My God, it is for this purpose I have come." Big difference, isn't there? My God, it is for this purpose I have come. He knew it was his greatest moment. He was preparing for it all his life. It's an opportunity to go beyond self-limiting barriers, an opportunity that calls for the highest and best within us. You and I have come here to be the best Christ we can be. And that's what Ernest Holmes means when he wrote, We must not look afar to see the Christ, for he is ever near at hand. He is always within us. You know, I'm sure most of us know this. Christ wasn't his name. Christ is a title. It means the anointed. And all of us, you and I, we have the opportunity how we live, how we believe, and how we share our lives to be the Christ. So, I want to lighten it up and tell you a joke. Now, my wife told me, you know, you told that joke last year, but to me, it's still funny, so I'm going to do it again. It's about a minister who's teaching a Sunday school class, and he says to his students, today we're going to talk about resurrection. Anybody know what resurrection means? And one little boy raises his hand and he said, well, I'm not sure, but I know if you get one lasting more than 4 hours, you better see a doctor. I think it's funny. Anyway, Easter is not a celebration only of Jesus' life. It reminds us what we're all capable of being. Let me give you 2 examples. The first one is from Reverend Johnny Ray Youngblood, who wrote, every time I see a man put down his bottle, there's a resurrection going on. Every time I see a man go back to school, there's a resurrection going on. And the second example I want to give you is from Megan McKenna, who's a Catholic writer. And Megan wrote that one day she was leading a Bible study in Luke 7:11 through 17. Luke 7:11 through 17. And so let me read to you what that is. And it came to pass on the next day, he was going to a city called Nain, and his disciples were with him, and many people. And when they came near the gate of the city, he saw a dead man being carried out, who was the only son of his mother, and his mother was a widow, and many people of the city were with her. When Jesus saw her, he had compassion on her, and he said, weep not. Then he went and touched the bier, and those who carry it stood still. And he said, young man, I tell you, arise. And the dead man sat up and began to speak, and he gave him to his mother. And all men were seized with fear, and they praised God, saying, a great prophet is risen among us, and God has visited his people. And this word about him went out through all Judea and through the country around them. So that's the phrase that Megan was going over with her class. And then somebody shouted out harshly to her, have you brought something back from the dead? And here's what Megan wrote. She responded, yes. Every time I bring hope into a situation, every time I bring joy that shatters despair, every time I forgive others and give them back dignity, every time I listen to others and affirm their life, every time I speak the truth, every time I confront injustice, yes, I bring people back from the dead. So I want to close. I want to ask you several questions. Can you release your attachments and let go of titles? Can you release the things you think define you that won't really matter in the end? Can you let go knowing that soon, when you are ready, it will be time to rise and soar? I want to conclude by reading something that was written by Reverend Bill Arrett. And it's titled, I Let Spirit Call Me Forth. I bless the night and make it holy, especially the dark nights of the soul, for it offers me a choice. I can lie in the dark night like Lazarus in the cave, imprisoned by my regrets, resentments, doubts, and fears, while my talents, hopes, and aspirations and self-confidence wither and die. Or I can remember that just as the grass and corn grow during the night, so the seeds that God planted within me germinate and sprout, unseen from within, getting ready for the light of day that is sure to follow. I choose to let Spirit call me forth, as Jesus did Lazarus, to become the person I was created to be. I do so now in joyful anticipation, knowing that whatever I need to know to live a purposeful life is revealed to me in divine right order. So be it, and so it is. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and I hope I see you Tuesday at 2 o'clock.